Good evening, everybody. It is now 7 o'clock, and I will call this evening's regular commission meeting to order. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on this evening's agenda is to consider the minutes of the February 25th meeting. Commissioners?
I move we approve the minutes.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion carries. Next item is to consider a request to close Main Street entrance at Centennial Park and 14th Street. Denise?
Yes, on the map, you will see that the roads that they would like to have closed. I know this is a little confusing, but this is for the Battle of the Schools, and they are wanting to close that southern parking lot right at the parking lot area so people can still get in to use that, and then close the main drive of Centennial Park so that they can use that for part of their course of running. And staff has looked at this. Everybody, the school and the NRC have been contacted to make sure that there are no games happening at this time, and there are none. So we would recommend approval.
I would so move.
I second.
I second.
We have,
Motion?
He motioned, I
Oh,
seconded.
you second. Okay.
we have a motion, a second, and a second. So any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Next item this evening is to consider a request for the use of the parking lot at Centennial Park for Touch a Truck event. Denise?
Yes, that far parking lot that was on that previous map, they are wanting to use that for the Touch a Truck event that is going to be held May 16th, and this is an annual event that they do. Staff has been notified. Again, the school and the NRC have been notified, and there are no conflicts with that time, so would recommend approval of that.
I motion that we approve the parking lot at Centennial Park for the Touch a Truck event on May 16th.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion carries. Moving right along, the next item is to discuss a request for parade for cruise night on May 2nd. So,
Okay, so you have received, or we have received a request to close Main Street. Marion is here to also talk about that. This is for the annual cruise night that they have on May 2nd, and I believe that they were wanting to have a parade, have Main Street closed from 12th Street all the way to Midway Motors, and just for about 30 minutes from 6 to 6:30 so that they can get all their cars through. And that discussion is now up to you to make the decision.
all right. So you are wanting to do a parade?
Well, we do cruise night every year. I'm working on the parade thing to make it safer. So what I'm planning on doing is making up flyers to send out to everybody so they know to behave. And then I asked Chief Dunleavy about putting the digital sign radar like at Washington Park, because they turn around at South Sonic, and I don't want them drag racing to the north. So if they see that digital sign, they know that possibly they can get a ticket. And I'm, going to put in the flyer that no burnouts, behave, and no kiddies like there was that one day. But the plan is for everybody to meet at the high school, because there's going to be so many cars, there's so many participating. I would like to have traffic control at the exit where everybody exits the high school because there's a lot of traffic through there, and I can get cars through there faster. And then having a police car sitting at 12th Street to stop traffic so they can go through. And all I'm really asking for is like a rolling, you know, like a funeral would be, you know, they're shutting down intersections, just rotating the police cars to shut down intersections so nobody will pull out or run a red light and hit somebody. I'm expecting 200 vehicles to participate. Anything's gonna go as far as if we can have a parade. So, like if Riffle wants to have one of his cars, it's not street legal, he can pull it in or whatever. So there's gonna be, I'm expecting 200 cars. So I'm expecting, you know, 6 to 8 blocks of cars going down Main Street at one time, and get it through as quick as we can, because the railroad's going to shut down for me for a little bit like they do every year. And it's just quicker if we can just have a parade, get it all over with, and then everybody meets at Midway Motors. It should be a pretty simple deal if I can get everybody to cooperate and get everything lined out. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why I'm starting now on getting it figured out.
So would they go single file from the high school? Well, I guess they could go,
Well, we're asking if we can double up.
yeah, even on 12th Street where it's single?
No, they'll double up once they get on Main Street.
Okay. So they'll go single till they hit Main
Yeah.
Street, and then they'll
Yeah.
double. If someone goes right, the next guy goes left, and they,
Yeah.
okay.
So when they get to 12th and Main, have a police car sitting there to block traffic, and then they can get on Main Street and then double up on Main Street and then get through quicker.
Then they just stay tight.
Yeah.
Until the last
And then
one
if
goes
it's a
through.
parade, you know, they'll be able to throw candy, because a lot of them like to throw candy
Okay.
out.
So Chief, can you address the scenario that he's painting and how that affects all of our officers that night?
Yeah, there's a lot. It's far more complex than just leading a number of cars. That's a lot of cars. And then if we do the traffic control at 12th and Main, and if we don't have a full control of the entire parade, which we take on all the liability as a city because now we're controlling every one of those traffic lights, and I have to either have an officer at each one of those traffic lights, or we rely on all 200 cars to follow in pretty close proximity because we can't control the lights to turn them to blinking or one way, red or yellow or anything like that. So those cars will stop at 8th and Main, and then now we're backed up at 12th and Main because that's 200 cars, and then they will have gaps all along that entire parade route by trying to do that. Then and 12th Street is one of the busiest intersections we have in town. 1st and Main is the next busiest intersection in town. Those are very complex intersections. You can't see around some of the intersections, the corners. It's just far more complex than that. So to go that far from the high school all the way to Midway, that's more than 2 miles.
Yeah, it's almost,
And for 30 minutes, that's a lot.
it's almost 3 miles. I did my calculations from the high school to Midway Motors. It's not quite 3 miles,
Yeah.
but it's close. But I also had a meeting with Sheriff Chad Gay, and he said that he would put his deputies on it too to help Chief Dunleavy. So he'll have his reserves with it too. So, but you know, Chad's all for it. Of course, he's doing this for years. And then I've also asked the fire chief if he wanted to put an emergency unit, like a fire truck or ambulance like he does on a lot of the parades, you know, like the county parades and stuff, if he wanted to. Because we're gonna have motorcycles, we're gonna have big trucks, we're gonna have a lot of vehicles that that night.
So Chief, what would you, in light of the scenario that he's painting, what would you recommend is something that is doable or not doable?
A parade from all the way from the high school to Midway is just absolutely not doable for, even if the sheriff offers manpower to help all those intersections, we'd have to man and control all the way for nearly 3 miles. That's just not workable. What we have been doing, the cruise has worked out the last several years. With the minus, a couple of years ago, we had some knuckleheads that were doing donuts, and I didn't have officers out, additional officers, because we had to take 911 calls as well. And it was a considerable danger that, because they were doing those kiddies, what he was explaining, at 3rd and Main, and some of those vehicles went up onto the sidewalk, and you probably saw the marks there. They've been there for months and months. So, and I caught a lot of heat for that, and rightfully so, because we didn't control, didn't have enough, police out there to help curb some of this. So for the last several years, I've had additional officers out knowing this cruise is, and we have had very little issues since then. And I will put additional officers out this year again, regardless of what we do. Because even if we do the parade, we're going to have additional people in town at least an hour before and probably a couple hours thereafter just to do the cruise. So I'm going to have additional officers out anyway. That tends to mitigate some of the knuckleheads from doing dangerous activity, because I'm responsible for public safety. So that's my concern, is the people that are watching the cruise, make sure they're safe even on the sidewalks.
So then you would recommend what in this scenario?
My recommendation is just to continue on with what we've been doing. Turn me off. There you go. I don't know. What we've been doing, the cruise, it's been really successful. I think his car club seems to like it. The ones we've talked to, I understand what Marion's asking for. Is it could be safer, but I would argue that it wouldn't, because if we sanction the parade, then they're still subject to all the traffic laws. So if they stop at the red lights or whatever and they do the burnouts, they're still going to be subject to that. But if we're sanctioning this parade, they may have an idea that it's okay for them to do. So I'm trying to offset some of that confusion. So if we just do the cruise as normal, everybody follow the traffic laws, we get along great.
How is it communicated to the participants about what they are not allowed to do?
Well, I have guys in the club that do the Facebook, and then they give instructions on Facebook not to do burnouts.
Social media?
Yeah. So if they, do what they do, they're liable, nobody else is.
So there wasn't any kind of any piece of paper sign saying, I agree not to do these things?
No, I had flyers too, when they pull in the parking lot, I give out the flyer, behave, this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. And then, I'm going to get Sonic to give out their little drink tokens so you can get a drink at
Because I was surprised to find out that there are actually people who think that is allowed in those parades. There's still people that think that, and that it's okay, that the law enforcement is okay with that. And so that's why I'm asking, how is it communicated to them? Because obviously there's people out there that still think that is okay.
I'm sure that when people are in a parade, have their car in a parade, they know not to do anything reckless. A lot of people don't have common sense, but that's a common sense factor to me. If you're in a parade, you behave, you just, show off your car to the public that's at the side of the street.
Did they have to fill out some kind of registration or something to register to do?
Well, we can do that. We can have them fill out, a give and take, so they know that they're liable for their own actions. I mean, I know that you can't stop people from doing stupid stuff. So even if I have them sign something, I don't know how I would be able to get them to not do anything. anything, reckless. But I'm gonna send out flyers so everybody knows to behave. A lot of us don't even do it. We just do the one lap, and sit at Midway Motors and then go home, because Midway Motors is doing a big old barbecue for everybody. And they'll move all their cars in one big show and shine. And
Sorry.
It's off now.
I've got a few concerns.
Sure.
Probably my biggest concern is the length of it.
Yeah.
And this 30-minute window. I mean, it would take almost every bit of law enforcement that we have and Public Works to put up barricades on all the side roads and everything, to keep people from dropping in to the parade from wherever they happen to live or wherever they happen to want to join in. Car cruises, poker runs, and all that, they're great, okay?
Yeah.
That compressed timeline and the distance of the parade, I just don't see that as being feasible, especially since it's a whole lot of work because of a couple of dummies, because of a few jokers, okay?
Yeah.
And I just don't know that.
I'm trying to keep, cruise night going, but that's one of the things that the reason it stopped, the silliness that stopped is because we're putting a stop to it.
Good. And it takes the clubs to police their own and say, you're not doing that again. And it takes, and it sounds like it's been successful since the last wackiness.
Yeah.
So.
But I know that it would be. I think I can make it safer if we have a parade. I could see about shorting it because as far as I know, Newton's never had a parade this long before. But one of the things is I'm trying to make anything the public will be able to see anything that has wheels.
Well, and they can do that on the cruise as well. Suzanne, did you have some input?
Sure. When we're talking about a parade, you also have to remember that Main Street is K-15 highway, when we do have to let them know what we're planning to do, and they expect if we're shutting down K-15 for a parade, that we are doing appropriate traffic control. That could be a rolling barricade, but that does mean that there has to be people at every intersection and or barricades, and or could be both when we're having to pull them. And you have to have, if you're not pulling them in an appropriate amount of time, and I don't think you can get 200 cars through that area that you're talking about in 30 minutes, then you have to have a detour route. And we have no detour route other than the interstate if we do it from the high school all the way down to Midway Motors. So that's something to keep in mind. Just because it's a state highway and we say we have to follow these things because of KDOT, on our local roads, we're responsible for the traffic control and how we handle traffic, because there's also other people trying to get from point A to point B. So we need to make sure that we have the appropriate traffic control up to keep everybody safe, not just those that are in the parade.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't even thinking about the K-15 highway running through there.
You'd have to have two detours. West side would have to go to Meridian. East side.
Yeah, and if it was truly going to only be 30 minutes and it was a shorter period, then rolling barricade would be much easier. But because this is going such a long, it would take multiple, I mean, we're looking at, I don't know, probably 40 different employees that are going to have to be at intersections to help make this work.
And that's another reason why I was going to have them double up. So, because we have 200 cars that are lined up, back to front instead of side by side, it's going to be longer. So I'm going to have everybody go side by side so they can get through quicker. And so it's 6 to 8 blocks long, maybe. What I think that's all as long as it would be. So, it may not even take 30 minutes, but I'm giving the 30 minutes so we can get everybody through safely.
And the problem is you can say 30 minutes, But we can't just pull barricades at 30 minutes. We have to wait until everybody's through. And so the chief and I talked about it, and we fully believe it's going to take longer than 30 minutes to get 200 vehicles through. Even if you say you're going to stack them, I think people tend to go ahead and stagger just because they don't want to be right next
Have you ever
to
tried
each
to,
other.
you've tried to get out of automobile at the end of the show, right? I mean, it's a nightmare.
Well-
It's like trying to herd rabid kittens. I mean, it's,
I'm one of them that helps put on automobilia,
I know,
so.
and I've been every year, so.
And then including all the traffic.
I
lights.
admire the desire to put on a great event for Newton and everything. I don't think a parade, I want the cruise to continue.
Right.
Commissioners?
How long, would you say again, Chief, you said what worked well, how far down did that go with parades and things that have worked well that you have, is it First Street? How, as far as your manpower is concerned and.
How
having
far
people-
could we go with
Yeah.
it? To-
how far is, have we,
Typical parade routes are running from 8th to 5th. We have had some that
Okay.
go from 11th
okay.
to 5th because of the railroad tracks. The most would be first, but see, then we still have to do detours that are running around that.
Like the Christmas
Unless,
parade.
again, we're looking at a rolling barricade, and in that sense, it's a lot more manageable in that area from, say, 5th to 11th to do rolling barricade. But that still means people and barricades at those locations. If we were looking at that, we probably are looking at least $1,000 of overtime for people with Public Works at those intersections to make that work.
From 5th to, or from 11th to
5th.
5th.
Uh-huh.
Does that sound more doable? 11th to 5th?
Oh, sure, we can manage.
That-
That's far more doable than from the high school to Midway. You know, that's something we can absolutely manage. I'll have to call in additional officers, but we would do that on any parade event anyway. So, now, just keep in mind, I fully support the cruise night. I think it's a
Right.
really good event, and we've had very little issues the last couple of years for sure. So they have done a good job managing their folks, trying to mitigate some of the rascals out there doing nefarious things. So they've done a good job too. But we have also had a presence out there that's kind of mitigated those kind of things. So
And that's one of the things I've done in the past. I spot the knuckleheads. Try not to name any names, but I go to them and I tell them, behave, don't do your burnouts like you've done in the past. I went to Renee at the bar last year and I said, do not stop traffic and pour whatever on the tires to get whoever to do a burnout. So they didn't even come out last year, since I told Renee that. We don't need anybody to try to get anybody to do anything, talk them into doing anything. So I go to them and tell them behave. So, and then, of course, I talked to the railroad, and the railroad told me that they don't mind shutting down for a little bit because all they do is blow through these towns and don't give back, and this is their way of giving back to be able to shut down for a few minutes. And the first time I did that, Chad Arnold told me, it's like, well, it's a good thing, I'm glad you told me that you were done because I had 3 trains waiting on you.
Could you make something like an 11th to 5th Street work and then time it with the railway so that when your parade ended at 5th Street, that it was then open for everybody to get across peacefully and slowly so it didn't turn into a race from 5th Street
Yeah.
to Midway?
Yeah, I
that's-
can, get everybody to, just send something out and tell them what we need for their help. So, I could also get the members of the car club to help with traffic control if Chief Dunley didn't have a problem with that.
I don't think
We
can
can't
do
do
that.
that.
So,
They're highly trained city street workers as well as law enforcement officers.
Not only that, it's a
It's a liability
issue.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like when I help with automobilia, that's one of my jobs. I have to help with traffic control in that, so I didn't know if anybody, could help, get some sort of, instructions from Chief Dunleavy and go from there. So, I don't
Sounds
know.
like everybody's just gonna have to be on real good behavior when they get past Fifth Street,
Yeah,
continuing on, because that's still quite a ways getting down to Midway.
yeah, it's like a
So,
mile. So.
Yeah, and
Well, I would be willing to proffer a motion that we have a parade from 11th to 5th, and that you can work around those parameters from our end.
I would second that.
Do they need to fill out a
You need a motion? Do you, what?
No, we were just talking about the application. We'll just have to do a new application, or you can just change the time, the date, or the streets that we're going to do on that application.
And then you'll bring it back in front of us?
We can, yes, at that point, for you to make a motion and approve that street closing, because we would need to have the street closing or even the rolling barricade for KDOT, I believe, that they have to, so that we would have an approval from
KDOT.
you for that we can send off to KDOT. So we can have that at the next meeting if you'd like. I'd also just caution you about having people throw candy. That is, you cannot throw candy from vehicles, moving vehicles,
Even at a parade?
even at a parade.
Okay,
You
so
can
my
hand
motion,
it to them.
my motion includes everything Denise just said.
so.
Do we vote on that tonight or wait until
Yeah,
we
are
get the?
Can't we just, or don't we wait?
I would suggest that we wait until we have the application that has the right amount or the right streets on there, so that we can do the motion to send to KDOT and subject to KDOT approval.
Okay.
So,
An item for a new application.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's what we can do. You're just having a discussion on this anyway, so it's not like you have to take a motion on it.
Okay, that was my next question.
So and under that scenario, you'd still gather at the high school and
Yeah.
then
I
end up
don't
getting
know
the 11th.
anywhere, I don't know anywhere else, a parking lot big enough to everybody come in and line
Yeah.
up. Other than high school, I mean, they've been doing that for years anyway, so. I don't know of any place north that would be big enough for anybody to line up like that.
you might work with Chief to see how they're going to get from the high school to the staging area
Yeah.
on 11th Street.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm asking for is, approval for whatever we can
Yeah.
come up with.
I think this could work, though.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's kind of our normal, it's a little longer than some parades, but
right,
it's not, we're cutting a couple miles off of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, whatever we can get.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
All righty, the next item on this evening's agenda is to consider a temporary alcohol permit for the wine walk on the 20th. Denise?
Yes, Commissioners. This is a new event that is being sponsored by not only the Chamber of Commerce, but the Choose Newton Group, or the Downtown Newton Group. This is for, on the 20th of March, they are asking for a temporary alcohol permit to have samples at these different locations, and you can see the participating stores or businesses on the screen up there. The state and I have had extensive conversation about how this can be done, and they have to apply for a temporary alcohol permit from the city as part of this. They also have to apply for a temporary alcohol permit from the state, which is part of your packet, the application in there. They will go to the different locations. You cannot get in unless you have a ticket. You cannot have alcohol unless you have a ticket. And then they would be doing a pour. They have to keep track of the number of pours to make sure that they do the sales tax or the alcohol tax, liquor tax, whatever you want to call it, that the state will require them to turn in. I have, Jen is here from the Choose Newton Downtown Promotion, Newton Main Street, whatever it all is. And I do know that they have sold out on their tickets. So
Wow.
Staff has talked about this. We would go ahead and recommend that they meet all the criteria for what we have in the books and what the state is requiring.
And
Happy
this
to
is
answer
for-
any questions.
This is for everybody. Everybody can attend, but you have to
Everybody can
have the
attend, but you
landlord.
cannot have alcohol unless you actually have a ticket, and they will be having people that will be checking all that. They cannot leave the premise with alcohol in their drink as well. So before they go on to their next location, they have to have an empty glass or pour out whatever they have before they can go out on the street to go to the next location.
So we'll have volunteers at every entrance and exit of buildings, making sure that if they have any in their glass, it's dumped out before they leave.
Also, I will just say that this is under the chamber is doing this application because otherwise every participating entity would have to do their own special alcohol permit. So we're putting it into one large area, and again, the state is okay with that. The chamber will be the one purchasing all the alcohol. The chamber will also be the one that will be turning in the tax.
I would move for approval.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Commissioners, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item this evening is to consider an engineering agreement with Garver for East First Street paving improvements. Denise and Suzanne?
Commissioners, we talked about this a few meetings back, and remember we went to the county and visited with them about participating with the project. Our committee, a review committee that reviewed the request for proposals from the engineering firms, they met, they selected Garver as the group to perform the design work. And this morning, I went over to the county and spoke with them about whether they would participate or not. We split out the costs for phase one, and in your packet and on the screen, we talked about phase one and where phase one might end. And I kind of wanted to lay out and show to you those properties that we know could be developing. And so Prairie View, we know, is going to have some additional development occurring. We know Hillsborough is under construction. Murdoch Properties has the property there on the southeast corner of First and Hillside. And then the city has some other development property that is for sale, that 70-acre piece there north of First Street that's in yellow. And then there's the drainage detention pond that cannot be built in that handles runoff from the airport, and then the Ben Franklin site. And so we talked about going all the way to the east end of the Murdoch properties, but what I ended up doing is ending phase one just after the little notch there on Murdoch properties at First and Hillside, just past it. Thinking that if that develops, they may have a drive that comes out at that location, but that gets us through the intersection of Hillside. That would be phase one, because we did have one of the county commissioners that asked about, could it be that the city would do phase one, the county would do phase two? And so I took those numbers to them this morning, and they discussed it, went back and forth a bit, had quite a bit of discussion about it, and there was at least one, possibly two, that were in favor with paying for half of the design, or even paying for the design for phase two and moving forward with that at the same time that we would do a phase one design. And then they decided they wanted to talk with their staff. Jim Meyer ended up coming down, and we visited with him, their county road and bridge superintendent. He seemed to be in favor of it and explained that we go through a lot of steps to get to this point, and that we're looking from an engineering perspective out into the future, looking at where development is headed, trying to get design plans ready so that there may not seem like there's as much traffic on that roadway today, but definitely it's going to increase as you have improvements at Prairie View and at Hillsborough. They are planning to meet with their staff, and discuss this. I believe it's on March 17th, and then they will come to some conclusions. about whether they would want to move forward or not. Overall, we would save about a little over $50,000 if we did both Phase 1 and Phase 2 design together, because there are some economies of scale if you can do all of it at once. Because this is not just, it's not just doing design work and drawing a plan. You have to look at the concepts, determine, should we do 3 lanes? Where are we going to lay those out? Where's the right-of-way that's going to work the best? Where do we need to acquire right-of-way? What are the traffic counts? What kind of geotechnical information needs to be obtained? What's the status of the existing pavement? Just all of that kind of information is going to be looked at. So this is a pretty long project. There's survey going to be involved. If we move forward today, in May, we might have some concepts that would be brought back to you. I would recommend, though, that let's wait and see what the county's going to do here. Because it would be great if we could partner together on this, because this roadway is something that leads to the airport that we work on together. We have a partnership there. This is a development corridor for both the city and the county, and perhaps they are going to get to the point where they believe that, yes, this is something that we should move forward together on. And I think that we can wait that long. The dates that I've given you in the packet for when preliminary estimates and concepts would be available, they would move out a little bit if we have to wait a little bit longer, maybe out another month. Remembering that if we were moving forward with design, even if you approved it today, we still wouldn't be looking to move forward with any kind of construction until it got brought back to you, and that wouldn't be until probably December or January, December of 2026, January of 2027. So the thought is to get these designs ready, get acquisition right away acquired, and be ready to move forward with construction into the future. And you still have time then to program that into the capital improvement program, and both the city and the county can program that. We talked a little bit this morning about how it would be paid for. I explained to the county that in the past, definitely we have bonded projects, and they have either paid, as we made debt service payments, or they've paid up front. And that's something that we could talk about in an interlocal agreement together, moving forward with the project if they wanted to partner with us. So my recommendation to you this evening is to perhaps table this item until the next meeting, or maybe the next. Just table it until it gets brought back after the county has some time to discuss this a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree.
I do know that, Dana, did you want to speak?
Okay, I'm Dana Shiflett. I'm from the McLean's neighborhood. I'm here tonight as chairman of Walk and Roll Harvey. And I'm up here. What I'd like to ask you is that you consider cyclists in this project, not just local cyclists. This is part of the Trans-America Bike Route. And we do have tourists coming through here on bikes that use that road, go in both directions. I have been in touch since I first read about this in the paper a week or two ago. I have been in touch with Adventure Cycling. They are the ones that own the Trans-America Bike Trail, so to speak. And they are very interested in this, and I hope soon to have a letter from them encouraging you to consider cyclists. I've also been in touch with Matt Messina at KDOT. He is the chief of multimodal transportation. He's a cyclist himself. He commutes on a bike, drops his kids off at the nursery on the way. And he's interested in this. He suggested a couple of programs at the state level that might help fund bike accommodations. And he also sent along a couple of couple of examples of how this might be accomplished. And I could forward these to anybody that wants them. I suspect you already have them.
Yeah, when we were selecting the consultant, we absolutely made a point that this was on that transcontinental bicycle path and wanted to make sure that it was going to be a safe passage for bicyclists. So this has definitely been on our radar. And that's the whole point of wanting to get the design plans ready, so that if there were grant funding opportunities, we'd have the plans ready and be able to submit for grants that would be available.
Outstanding, thank you. I should point out, at this point, I do not ride on First Street. I quit that years ago. It had to do with a cement truck.
It's too narrow.
And there was another example with a cement truck that was very good, and I should say that. But this one was just too close. At any rate, that's all I've got to say. Thank you for hearing.
Okay, thanks for your input.
Thank you.
So I guess at this point, we'd call for a motion to table this item.
I move,
Go ahead.
I move that we table this item for at least no more than a month, 2 meetings? Is that,
Do we need to put a date?
To a future meeting to be determined by staff.
Yeah.
We'll get it set on an agenda.
I
I
wouldn't
move
put a
that.
date.
Yeah,
No? No?
yeah, don't put a date on it.
Okay, all right.
Awesome. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Suzanne. Next item this evening is to review the commission policies. Rebecca?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Before you in your packet is your clean version of the commission policies. As you know, we've had 3 work sessions on that, and you asked us next steps to bring you this as kind of a first read, so to speak, for adoption as we come back to you in the form of a resolution. So just here to listen to any comments, see if there's any remaining edits. There were a couple of small typographical things that did get edited. And one item of small note is in the portion that has our economic development policies. We'd had some discussion about whether we would cite a city fee resolution. I think we've changed that language right now to a city fee document to give us a little bit more breadth of what kind of a document we would utilize. But again, something that would be open to the public, list of fees, how they're set, those types of things, just to offer a little bit of transparency there.
So you said you'd taken care of the remaining edits?
The copy that you should have that was published on Monday should have had any remaining edits taken out. If you see some more, please let me know. I do have a copy in front of me.
Well, like on page 2 and 12 and 13 and
Spacing.
it's all spacing where you have a heading starting at the end
Oh,
of the page and then the content.
I think that must have been when I uploaded it, so I
Okay.
apologize.
Sorry.
My copy printed off without
On
those.
behalf of our friends in the back of the room that saw it as well.
Stuff like that, yeah. It's gonna go.
Then yes, it seems like when it uploaded, it did
Okay.
shift the formatting.
No.
So if there's anything that's not formatting,
No, it's nice.
so,
Yeah.
okay. Well, this is just a discussion. There's no
Okay.
action yet. That'll come at the next meeting.
Are we ready to move on? Thank you, Rebecca. Next item this evening is to consider an RFP regarding the design of the bike path extension. Suzanne?
Yes, Commissioners, if you recall, back in January, you took action to approve us moving forward with a project along, bike path along Sand Creek that would extend the trail for the missing gap between the dam and Southwest 14th Street. We are now, and the state is working on the grant agreement. This is for a carbon reduction program federal grant, but we receive it through the state. And the next step in the process is to send out a request for qualifications to engineering firms according to the grant process. And we would have a review committee that would review those firms that are interested in the work, and then they would make a selection. It would be brought back here to you, similar to what we just did with Garver on the other project. And then and the expectation is we will probably have the grant agreement from the state at that time. And they are fine with us moving forward with this step in the process this evening. If you choose to, we would like to get that selection process moved forward so that once we have the consultant selected and we get the grant agreement, we can move keep the project moving forward, because they did give us a date. I don't know that I put it in the packet, but there's a certain date that we have to use the funds by. So we want to keep the project clipping along, if you will. So unless you have questions, our recommendation would be to go ahead and consider the approval of the RFQ this evening.
I would move we approve sending out a RFP.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I will say I loved that one of the factors for evaluation and weight was the firm's own accessibility of their own offices. Because if they don't have accessibility at their offices, that tells a whole lot. So I really liked seeing that. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. The motion carries. Thank you, Suzanne. You're not done yet.
No, not
Item
yet.
number 9 is to consider an RFP for demolition of 225 Boyd.
Yes, Commissioners, judgment was entered against the 225 Boyd property owner according to the proceedings that was in the packet. And prior to that, the environmental hearing officer of the city of Newton on September 19th, 2024, that's when all of this proceedings took place. And then the city commission approved demolition of the residential structure at 225 as per the resolution that's in the packet. Then the engineering office was asked to prepare bid documents for demolition of the structure and cleanup of the property. I have the bid package that requesting proposals from contractors to do that is here in your packet. And we are then asking you to approve that and approve us setting the bid date and sending this out to prospective contractors to take care of the demolition and the cleanup on this site.
I move that we approve the RFP for demo of 225 Boyd.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 10 is receive bids for runway 826. Suzanne?
Yes, Commissioners, we had a bid opening today, and we were hoping to be able to come, and I gave you a copy of this because we did not get this in the packet because the bid opening was just today. Gave this to you at your seat. We had 2 bidders for this project, and there was a base bid, and then there was a bid alternate. The bid alternate was for the lighting because we believe that we have a state grant for that. Both of the bids were over the engineer's estimate. The engineer on this project is our airport engineer, which is H&TB. We have sent the information to them. They wanted to have more time to review this. And so we would ask that we table this until the next meeting. I think it is very likely that the only option we're going to have is to reject the bids and then start the process over, whether that means just rebidding or changing the project slightly. We'll need to be checking with FAA to see if there's additional funding available. I mean, typically, when we have something like this happen, if it's not such a far distance between the low bid and the engineer's estimate, we can negotiate with the low bidder. I'm not sure that that's going to work on this one. So we would ask that you just table this item, and it will come back to you at the next meeting. But expect that it could be that the outcome is still going to be that we ask you to reject all bids. But we'll let H&TB review that and bring it back to you at the next meeting.
Thank you, Suzanne. So at this time, I'd call for a motion to table this item to a date as determined by staff.
I would second that.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we need a formal reject? Just table it? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, that motion carries. So, didn't have anybody sign up for citizens forum. Well, it's a little bittersweet tonight, huh, Suzanne?
Yeah, big meeting.
Big meeting.
Big meeting, last meeting.
Big last meeting.
Yeah.
So, I think everybody in this room knows. There's some out on social media that may not know, but 33 years of public service, 28 here at the city of Newton. Well, you were just getting done cutting your teeth when you came here, and look where you're leading city engineer and public works director, congratulations on that. I mean, look around the community, and there's probably not an infrastructure item that hasn't passed through your departments. The breadth of knowledge that you have and your leadership skills for your team. I mean, all I can say is thank you.
I appreciate those kind words, but it's great staff. We have great staff here and a great support team that helps make things happen here. So,
Right, but
and-
people leave bad leaders. So the fact that they're here, that says a lot about you too.
great people.
Yeah. So with that, I'm going to go grab something for you. Commissioners, let's make her cry.
It's not.
I'm in. I like making women cry.
That doesn't surprise me.
Especially for a good cause,
For a
right?
good cause, yeah.
You will definitely be missed.
Thank you.
I've learned a lot from you over the last year, a few months.
To cry, not you.
I'm not. It is, I mean, it's happy, but that she's, that you're moving on and getting, going to do bigger things. And so that's exciting. I'm excited for you about that, but I'm sad for us because we are going to be losing a huge part of our,
Thank you. Those are pretty. Yeah, thank you so
our
much.
process here. So but I know that you've been working with the new guy, so I'm sure he's got some tough shoes to fill, but I'm sure he'll make it work.
I want to see him get his feet in those shoes.
Well,
They'll do well.
Well,
we thank you.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you.
and Ed, you have your own shoes to wear.
yeah.
And we know that based on what you have learned and watched from and with Suzanne, you're going to do fine. I just believe that. And I believe a lot of that is because you've had good teaching.
And Suzanne, I hope that as time goes on in the future, that whenever you drive by some of these developments that your fingers and your hands have been part of, that you just smile to yourself and say, you know what, I've been part of molding and shaping this community. And yeah, you have a special place in our heart.
Thank
Thank
you. I love Newton, and the good part is I'm not leaving and I'm not dying. So, I'll get to see everything that's going to continue to happen here, and I think there's a lot of good things that are going to be moving forward.
Well, there's going to be a reception for you on Friday. Right?
Yes.
So, and with that, staff, do you have anything?
2 to 4.
And I want to say it's been really comforting for me how thorough you are, and I've seen groups that really struggled because they weren't sure about the information and stuff like that, and your fierce loyalty has been very much appreciated too. If there's anybody that championed Newton, it was you.
Thank you. That won't stop.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
Danielle?
We still haven't made her cry yet. Somebody
I know, I'm watching her.
needs to dig a little deeper
I'm thinking
here.
any
She might
minute
be
now.
cried out.
Yeah.
I just want to tell her thank you, just from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
Donna?
Well, she's kind of my cohort right here, partner in crime. So I'm going to miss you. I'm going to cry.
Yeah, we're getting close. Chris, can you do it?
Try. No, I mean, when I started here, didn't know really much about municipal law or anything else. Suzanne's been a big part of that. Like you said, that attention to detail. She's been a great example in terms of work ethic and just being a great advocate for the city. We've all gotten a lot better working with her. It's been good.
Thank you.
I met Suzanne when I was still a grad student. I came up here for a quick tour and meeting some of the staff, and she was leading a meeting, and I knew that she was one of the 5 people I wanted to work with, kind of as a bucket list, and I'm very, very happy that I've gotten to spend these years with her.
Thank you.
Denise?
I'm already crying, so. Anyway, I was here when we first hired Suzanne, and just to see how she has blossomed even more as a young engineer into what she has become, a true respected person, engineer, colleague throughout the state, not just within the close walls here, but within the state. She is well regarded, and I love her passion and the fact that she believes what she believes and is so strong in that. And she has been a true friend. That's what I'm going to miss the most.
Awesome. Thank you. On behalf of a grateful community, thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you, everybody.
Very much, very much.
We are adjourned. But we're going to get a photo, so don't run out.
Okay.